I think that might be all there is to say about this episode, unless you have other things.
I don't. There was one. I mean,
so you do.
Oh well.
Do you or don't you?
I sometimes even I don't know. There was one thing that I thought was a little. No, it's dumb. Never mind.
Nope. Now you have to.
Damn it.
Do it.
All
Do
right,
it.
all right. So.
I'm Tom Dickinson.
And I'm Louis Midas.
And this is The Cloister Room,
a podcast about Doctor Who and other things.
Did you watch Hyde?
I did watch it. I watched it several times.
How many is several?
Well, I'm defining several as 3.
Oh, okay. Well, that is several, I would say.
Yes.
I watched it 2 times.
Aha.
And, one of those viewings for me was something I don't usually do, which is I watched the BBC America airing of it.
Yes.
With, complete with commercial breaks.
Oh, yeah. You actually...
Well, I fast-forwarded through the commercial breaks.
Oh, okay.
But I still had to, be disrupted.
Right.
At points. And I don't get BBC America in high definition. So I was watching a standard definition BBC America feed on a high definition television.
Oh. That's unfortunate.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I mean, watching Doctor Who with commercials is not as fun as watching it without commercials.
You are correct. However, and this is strange, because there are times where I do not watch it on BBC America, and when that occurs, it's strange to me because I'll flip back and forth where I'll watch it without commercials, and then I'll watch it the BBC America recording that I get off of my television, and it's weird because if I watch it without commercials first, I find when I watch it on BBC America, I find the commercials incredibly disruptive. But then I notice if I watch the episode first with commercials, I'm not as bothered by them when I see them again on repeat viewings or on first viewings. Like if it's my first viewing and I'm watching it with commercials, it's not as bothersome to me. I don't know why. It might be some sort of universal rhythm that United States cable television has.
Well, I mean, there is a rhythm to U.S. television that is built around commercial breaks. Right. And so whenever I see Doctor Who with commercial breaks, regardless of whether it's my first viewing or my 18th viewing or whatever, I mean, Doctor Who is not designed to have commercial breaks inserted into it.
Right.
And you can kind of tell.
Yeah, usually when a U.S. show is about to throw to commercial, they have some big reveal or someone says something important and then the camera zooms in or something and then it goes to black or something. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of like how a lot of shows do that. They say they end it. They make a natural sort of breaking point.
They have an act break, it's called.
Is that what it's called?
Yes, and Doctor Who doesn't have any.
No.
So BBC America has to make them up. Anyhow, that doesn't have very much to do with the episode, but I just felt like noting it.
Yeah.
I do think it damaged my enjoyment of the episode on first viewing a little bit. Anyhow, what did you think of the episode?
I quite liked it.
Yeah, I liked it a lot too. I thought it was very, very good. It was, I don't know if I'd say it was my favorite of this batch of episodes so far. I still think I might like The Bells of St. John a little better. But I think I liked it better than both Rings of Akaten and Cold War.
Yeah, I definitely liked it better than Rings of Akaten. And it was the same guy. It was Neil Cross, right? Who
yes, exactly.
wrote both of those. So that's saying something.
Mm-hmm. The thing is, I think he was contracted to write this episode first, and they were so impressed with the script he turned in that they contracted him to write another episode, which turned out to be Rings of Akaten. They shouldn't have done that.
No, yeah, obviously. He's right. That seems like a very, very Well, I imagine for him that's got to be a terrible amount of pressure, because here you are, you've got this idea, maybe you've been like sitting on it for a while, where you've had this cool idea for like an episode, but then like they like it so much that they ask you to do another one, and now you've got to come up with just another idea that maybe you haven't had the chance to really think through. So I imagine that would be like terrifying.
Yeah, and I'm willing to write Rings of Akaten off as that.
Yes, no, absolutely.
I'm willing to pretend that this is the only Neil Cross episode I've seen.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you, because yeah, this was really good.
I wouldn't call it a perfect episode.
No.
I think it was just a very good episode,
right?
For a first-time Doctor Who writer, which even if you aren't pretending that Rings of Akaten doesn't exist, you still have to, this is still his first episode that he wrote, right? I mean, it's pretty phenomenal. Yeah, I'd say. Yeah,
it was, I loved how it was paced, even with commercial breaks. I loved just the atmosphere and the tension that was just, especially on first viewing, because it has that kind of like those kind of jump moments where you see something that flashes in like in the lightning and whatever, and those were genuinely frightening.
Oh, definitely.
I was surprised by how intense it was and how much I was just drawn in by it, and it was really, really good.
I think it's actually a little less tense on subsequent viewings after you've gotten the whole subversion that happens at the end.
Right.
Which I think is clever and interesting. It kind of reminded me a little bit of Forest of the Dead, where you think the episode plot has wrapped up, and then you all of a sudden realize that there's this other angle on it that's got to come in, and yeah. So, right. But I thought that was enjoyable. I did like that.
Yeah, I did as well. I thought that subversion was very clever and very neat, and just in general, very, very in line with the Doctor's kind of sympathy towards things that you would ordinarily not be sympathetic towards, and things like that. Mm-hmm. And I enjoyed that.
Are you aware of the pronunciation issue?
Oh, I saw you tweet about that. I don't know much about it, though.
The Doctor, in this episode, he makes use of a blue crystal from Metebolus 3. Which is a planet that was often mentioned in the Jon Pertwee era, but it's pronounced Metebolus 3.
Oh.
Any classic series fan who had been on set should have been able to, gently correct Matt Smith.
Oh, I see.
Because Metebolus 3 is a planet that it prominently features in one story, Planet of the Spiders, but throughout the later part of the Jon Pertwee era, he kind of talks about it a lot. Like, he will say, like, I can't wait to go to Metebolus 3. I'm gonna take you to Metebolus 3, but they don't end up there. And then eventually he gets to Metebolus 3, and he's like, I got this crystal at Metebolus 3. And then, some, like, and then the Brigadier is like, it looks like you finally got to Metebolus 3. And the Doctor's like, and then he mocks him for, like, not getting there quick enough, and like the Doctor says, Brigadier, the shortest distance between 2 points may be a straight line, but it is by no means the most interesting. And then in Planet of the Spiders, the fact that he took a blue crystal from Metebolus 3 turns out he did a bad thing, and the fact that he took it like causes this whole plot to set into motion. So it's like this major running thing throughout the later part of the Jon Pertwee era, and they can't seem to pronounce it correctly.
Well, I imagine that would be rather upsetting.
But Tom Baker can't say Gallifrey. So. he says Gallifrey.
Well, maybe that's the correct way to pronounce it, though. Pronounce it.
Maybe that is the correct way to pronounce it. I did my usual Twitter thing.
Oh, did you?
And
I did as well, because I was curious.
Well, what did you find?
So I found that program I told you about,
mm-hmm.
Which actually like tracks these things, and it's actually, I don't know if it was this robust when I first used it. It's called Tweet Archivist, or however you pronounce the... Anyway... It gives you like a week's worth of tweets,
mm-hmm.
and it can even show you things like a line graph showing spikes in the tweets for based on the day. And so obviously there's a huge spike on the 20th. I searched for three different terms: Doctor Who awesome, Doctor Who terrible, and Doctor Who meh.
Okay.
What did you search for?
Well, I didn't keep detailed records, but I did the ones I often did, like good, great, awful, terrible, wonderful, amazing. I actually didn't do awesome.
Oh, okay. Well,
and I didn't think to do meh. I probably should have. But...
well, it's actually not very significant.
Oh, okay.
Because if you drill down and you actually look at them, some of them appear to be sarcastic and things like that. So I guess you can't rely strictly on numbers. However, the total number of tweets for the past week of Doctor Who meh was only 93. So it's not very many. Because my search of Doctor Who awesome returned 848 in the past week.
Okay.
So
and what about the negative one you used?
Doctor Who terrible pulled in 205.
Okay, well.
Yeah. So that's a pretty good ratio.
Yeah, what I found when I was, and what I even found when I was searching for terrible and awful, like I found Doctor Who was awful good this week. Or, people who have been dissatisfied with Doctor Who. For this episode in particular, I found them saying Doctor Who was actually not terrible this week.
Right, yeah. I saw one that was like, Doctor Who was non-terrible. And I was like, oh, well. Also, for the word terrible, it seems like someone posted, because I saw this retweeted a lot, and this was pulled in, I guess because it pulls in retweets as separate ones. It was like the phrase, Doctor Who is terrible, why do people even watch it? And it was like in quotes, and then there's like a link to a picture, which was like a screen cap from this episode, where Clara is talking to the hologram version of herself, and like she's like kind of arguing with it and saying like, oh, you keep talking, but all I hear is meh, 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 meh. So clearly that was meant to be the opposite effect.
There was a similar thing that happened last week after Cold War, where a lot of people were tweeting Doctor Who isn't as good since Matt Smith took over, but then it was a screen cap of Matt Smith mocking the submarine captain's laughter at the end of the Cold War. So that was similarly opposite of what they were actually saying.
Right.
I actually kind of like to feel like John Pertwee said it wrong, and he kept saying it wrong so many times, but no one wanted to correct him. Like, I don't mean like John Pertwee, I mean like the Third Doctor.
Right.
And I mean, obviously, not a lot of people know about it, but no one wanted to correct him and say like, actually, it's metabolous.
That's possible. That's definitely possible. The 11th Doctor is obviously much older at this. Well, the Doctor is much older at this point, so maybe he's gotten over the stubbornness that may have inhibited his ability to learn the correct pronunciation.
That's true, but on the other hand, he also can't remember the Great Intelligence.
Well, that's true.
Who, by the way, I kind of thought the Great Intelligence was gonna continue to be a thing, but so far he has not.
No, he hasn't. It could very well be that was just a red herring. I don't know.
Yeah.
Because I feel like if the Great Intelligence wouldn't be significant enough to somehow be involved with the 50th anniversary.
Well, I mean, you think that about Zygons too.
Well, that's true.
I don't know. It could be that they're building up a gang of forgotten villains who are gonna like take revenge on the Doctor for forgetting about them. The Great Intelligence and the Zygons and
like the Forgotten League of Evil or something.
Yeah, sure.
Oh god, that kind of sounds like something that they could get away with.
Yeah, just minor antagonists from the show's early years that never really became long-term recurring villains.
Yeah, because it is weird that the Great Intelligence was in both the Christmas special and the Bells of St. John. Although it could, I guess, maybe they just didn't feel like that was resolved well enough in the Snowmen. So maybe they just felt like, well, let's bring some closure to that.
But did they?
Well, no, I guess they didn't, because the Doctor didn't even find out it was the Great Intelligence.
Anyhow, back to this episode.
Right.
I like how they kind of did a haunted house thing for like the first 15 minutes or so of the episode, but then kind of like threw that out the window and then did like an evil forest kind of thing.
Yeah,
where it's some really creepy looking location shooting.
Yeah.
And then they kind of went all over the place and did a whole bunch of different things, and it felt pretty different from anything else that we've seen recently, at least.
Yeah.
I think there were some connections to The Unquiet Dead. Reminded me a little bit of that, but And then, you have the whole time traveler and
Right.
and all that stuff. And so I just thought it was like a really interesting bringing together of a whole bunch of different elements that more or less worked as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, no, I thought it was. I did. I thought it worked very well, and as I think I mentioned, I did like the pacing of it, and I really liked that concept of like an early time traveler getting stuck in a pocket universe, or just I like the idea of like the first time travelers having problems, and then this being one of those weird problems. And I feel like, if anything, that's something that or I almost want to know more about that. Like I want to know more about like early time travel experiments. That could be a wealth of stories.
Yeah, and I mean, even like time agents.
Yeah.
Other time travelers in the Doctor Who universe who have been mentioned, but we haven't really gone into them too much.
Yeah.
There's a story called The Talons of Wang Chiang. I don't know if you've ever seen it.
I have
It's
not.
a Fourth Doctor story. It also features kind of like an early experimental time travel thingy gone wrong.
Huh.
There have been kind of like other instances of that. But yeah, that's an idea that might have been it could probably have been expanded upon here, because I mean, that character, we don't really see that much of her.
No.
She's just sort of there to basically be rescued and then nothing else.
Right. I guess the Doctor just knew who she was. Was that? I didn't really know, because obviously he did that thing where he took all the pictures, and then he seemed to just kind of know who she was.
She might have been famous because she went missing.
Oh yeah. Oh, and also that it was a fixed point, so maybe the Doctor knew something from that.
Right.
Not that we know how
those fixed points.
Yeah. Not that we know anything about how the Doctor detects fixed points, or how he knows, or what he knows.
So usually, to create a fixed point, you've got to put someone in a spacesuit at the bottom of a lake, and that's generally the only way to do it. But apparently, maybe there was a spacesuit at the bottom of a lake that we just weren't privy to in this situation.
Of course.
There are parts of the story that really just aren't that different from Rings of Akaten, in that it kind of bounces around from idea to idea and stuff like that.
True.
Because with Rings of Akaten, my main complaint was that, like, we got the singing, and then we got a mummy, and then we got a giant planet, and then we got, this leaf that brings in this whole apparently unrelated thing from earlier. But I feel like there's a much stronger through line here, because we have characters.
Right.
Aside from just, a scared little girl, but we have actual characters that the Doctor and his companion get to interact with. And there are really only three if you count the time traveler.
Right.
Which is, less than usual in Doctor Who, but I thought they were pretty well defined and well portrayed. I think I mentioned this in Rings of Akaten, that my enjoyment of episodes tends to be proportionate to how good the secondary characters are, and I think they kind of made this episode work.
Yeah, I agree. And I knew that you had said that, and I was thinking about that in this episode. But yeah, no, I agree that these characters were a lot stronger, and you got to know them a lot better than any of the characters you got to know in Rings of Akaten. So yeah, no, I liked that. I did like that. The one thing I guess I'm not clear on is with we discover at the end of the episode that the Doctor came there with the intention of finding out if Clara was weird or different in any way, and basically Emma says she's not. But I was wondering, what exactly if I'm understanding it correctly, she was an empathic psychic?
Yeah.
Which, as it's defined in the episode, means she can sense emotions?
It's specifically mentioned that she's like a telepath, but specific to emotions. So why not go to a telepath?
Right.
And I mean, the Doctor is a telepath.
It might be, maybe it's kind of rude. And the Doctor's kind of awkward about it. He doesn't know how to ask Clara if he can just kind of poke around in her mind for a bit.
Well, maybe he's already tried it and he hasn't gotten anywhere, so he's like, well, let's try this other thing. That could work.
Huh. Yeah, sure. Actually, maybe the Doctor can just, he couldn't come up with any thoughts, so he thought, well, let's flip it in the other direction. Let's go with emotions and see what that turns up. And I guess the answer was nothing.
Yeah, because Clara hasn't so far come off as a particularly emotionally strange person. Like, she doesn't have weird emotional issues. She has like weird temporal issues.
Right. Yeah, and on top of that, she doesn't seem too similar character-wise to her other selves. I mean, she's obviously adventurous and, she's got that kind of companion, wonder about things and whatever. But she doesn't come off as being too similar to them.
No, she's not. I don't really know. I mean, she's there are ways in which she is similar to them.
Yeah.
But I think she's not that similar to them. I don't know. Right. I'm actually kind of like from this episode, maybe it's just this episode, but throughout this episode I was kind of starting to think that there's not that much to her character as we know it now, in that her role in this episode in particular just is, the Doctor needs a companion. So here's one.
Yeah.
That might be a little less true in Rings of Akaten and Cold War. Maybe it's just this episode, but I feel like I don't think that Moffat's doing, and the other writers are doing as good of a job of establishing her character as they did with Amy.
Right. Yeah, I guess certainly from this episode, if I had just watched this episode and no others, I wouldn't really know what Clara was for, what she what sort of drives her or anything like that. Yeah, in some sense, you kind of think that the companion role could have been filled by any companion in this episode. Although I do I did like some bits. Well, actually, quite a lot of bits. But I mean, the dialogue was very good.
Yeah, there's a lot of good dialogue. The one really intriguing thing though is I think the relationship between her and the TARDIS.
Yeah. That's true.
Although I was a little bit confused about the fact that she expected... Same thing in Rings of Akaten, actually. About the way she expected to be able to get into the TARDIS.
Right.
Even though, it just locks.
Yeah.
I mean, doors do that.
Yeah. You'd think she'd know by now. Yeah, it's a bit... I mean, the Doctor still has the ability to snap his fingers. I don't remember the last time he did that, but I do know he's done that more than once.
Yeah. He has done it since Silence in the Library. Not often, but at least once or twice.
Right. But yeah, most of the time, even the Doctor uses a key. So yeah, it's a bit strange that she would just expect to be able to get in that easily.
Which is kind of interesting given how quickly the Doctor gave Clara a key in The Snowman.
Right.
I wonder if there's some kind of connection there.
Yeah, because you'd think that at this point, the Doctor would have given her a key. In the past, it seems like after the first few adventures, the Doctor gives a key to the companion, and that's the big moment where it's like, I can stay, and it's like, yeah, you can stay, and then I don't know. It's just weird that we haven't gotten that yet. But we also, another thought I had is we haven't seen whether or not they are going from one adventure to the next, or if the Doctor is dropping Clara off.
That's definitely kind of a question that's raised by the end of the Rings of Akaten.
Right.
Because he does bring her home then, but in Cold War, they're already, we see them just materializing.
Right.
And here we see them we don't even see them materializing. They just walk in a door.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, and at the end of Cold War, we don't even see them get back into the TARDIS. We only find out that the TARDIS is elsewhere.
Yeah.
So yeah, a whole lot of... And ordinarily this stuff wouldn't bother me. It's just that it was brought up that he dropped her off at back at home that first time. And now I'm on guard for doing it again. But yeah. So I don't know. I feel like that is a thing that is currently bothering me. It could just be that the first time that they did that was just a thing, and they weren't really going to address it, or maybe they were going to address it and they had to cut it out because of time or anything like that. I don't know.
Who knows?
There could have been a multitude of reasons for this, but it seemed like Clara is becoming attached to the Doctor. Just because, obviously, when the Doctor gets stuck in the pocket universe, she's very emphatic that, no, you have to go. You have to do it again.
He is her ride home.
Well, all right, yes. There is that, and that occurs to me as well. But that sort of knee-jerk emotional reaction is, no, you got to go back. I would imagine. Well, I don't pretend to know what Clara is thinking, so I can't say for sure. But it seemed emotional, and perhaps beyond just, oh no, I'll be stuck here. But there was that. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
I feel like one thing they are kind of building toward is the fact that the Doctor isn't being honest with her. At all, really. Because he hasn't really told her what's the real reason he's interested in traveling with her. She asks like a very general question about like what are we to you as in humans, and he counters with an answer that's much more specific to her. You are the only mystery worth solving, which it seemed to me like that is very specific to her rather than just as humans in general.
Right.
And there's, of course, Emma says to her that she shouldn't trust the Doctor, which
right.
I don't know. Maybe she shouldn't.
Maybe she shouldn't. Yeah, and it does sort of kind of harken back to the whole Amy's pregnancy thing. It once again feels that same kind of way where the Doctor's not really telling Clara everything, and it's kind of like worrisome, I guess. I don't particularly enjoy that sort of secret keeping. But
well, I think it could be interesting if that ends up becoming a source of conflict.
That's true. So yeah, I guess we'll hold out for that. But yeah, I guess at this point it's kind of a matter of I wonder where this is going. It's interesting because we have this mystery of who Clara is, and there's also this mystery of the Doctor's name, and it appears that the finale is going to be about the Doctor's name. Does that mean that the Doctor's name is somehow related to Clara?
Maybe the Doctor's name is Clara.
Yeah, there you go.
Could be.
Sure. I would believe anything at this point. But it's just weird that we've got all these stacking mysteries, and I have to wonder the order in which they're going to be solved.
Yeah, well, did you see the Next Time trailer?
I did.
Well, the Next Time trailer has a scene in which the Doctor yells at Clara, like, "What are you? Are you a trick? Are you a trap?" Or something to that effect. And
I didn't notice that.
Yes. Well, go back and watch it again.
I guess I have to.
So I wonder whether that's going to be built to something as soon as next episode.
That might be interesting.
Because we are now halfway through this run of episodes. So.
Well, there you go. It would be interesting if we got a resolution on that quickly, but it might just be that we get a bit of insight and not necessarily everything is solved.
Well, another thing is next week's episode, Journey to the Center of the TARDIS, will obviously heavily feature the TARDIS, which, as we know, has some kind of issue with Clara.
Yeah.
So it could be that will play into something or other. Who knows?
Who does know? Maybe this is the episode in which... This is the bottle episode where Clara and the TARDIS make up.
Yes, could be.
Yeah, I think either way it'll be interesting. I did like the Doctor's comment about how the TARDIS is like a cat.
Yes, I did like that. Well, the thing is, I liked it, but it only seems to be true in Clara's case. Like, I don't think any other companion has ever really had that kind of problem.
That's true. It could be that the Doctor was lying.
Yeah.
But the TARDIS is nothing like a cat.
It could be that the TARDIS is not at all a cat. Who knows?
Yeah, who does know? I also like that bit, the part where the Doctor is out taking pictures from various points in time, and Clara sees the destroyed Earth and she's upset, and the Doctor comes back and is like, "What's wrong? Did the TARDIS say something to you?"
Yes, yeah. I thought that was a good scene where it kind of gave her an opportunity to be upset about that.
Right. Which it seems like at some point, many if not all the companions at some point kind of freak out about that, like, "Oh my god, we must look like ants to you," and then the Doctor has a chance to sort of make them feel better
by just saying a line, by placating them with an empty platitude about no, not at all, totally no.
Right. It's important. It's an important stage in a companion's journey with the Doctor.
In all honesty, by that point, she was worried, like, is my body buried out there somewhere? Probably not. It's probably decayed into dust. So she doesn't need to worry about that.
Well, but the molecules are buried. Well, maybe not.
Who knows?
Maybe the molecules just kind of shifted around.
As they do.
They do like to do that.
Mm-hmm. The actress who plays Emma, Jessica Raine, is also in An Adventure in Space and Time. The upcoming thingy about the making of Doctor Who in the 60s. She's playing Verity Lambert, the show's first producer.
Interesting.
Also in that is, what's his name? The dude who played Solomon. David Bradley. Yeah, so maybe they're just going to try to get everybody in there eventually. Like, everyone who's in that will also be in Doctor Who.
Yeah, there you go. And why not?
Why not, indeed. He will be playing he'll be playing William Hartnell, who played the first Doctor. So yeah,
I can see that.
I can kind of see that. I'll be interested to hear how he does the voice.
Oh, that's true.
Because his voice is a little bit... His voice, in the roles that I have seen him in, has tended to be a little bit more growly than William Hartnell's voice. But
Right.
maybe he will do a good impression. I don't know.
Yeah. Maybe he's just affecting that growly voice. We've never actually heard his real voice.
It may just be exactly like William Hartnell.
Maybe he is William Hartnell.
Probably not.
No, it seems unlikely. This is another episode that features pocket universes. And it seems like that's a relatively new concept that keeps coming up.
Yeah, it was in The Doctor's Wife.
Mm-hmm.
Although I think in that case it was a bubble universe.
Oh, yes, but
I don't know if it's the same as a pocket universe.
Well, conceptually, they seem kind of similar, but at the same time, also kind of different. Because you do different things with a bubble than you do with a pocket.
Usually, yes.
They... Right. You know, for example, you have hot pockets. You do not have hot bubbles.
Well, some people have neither. Yeah, what was the other... There was another thing with the universe in, what was it, Curse of the Black Spot?
Yeah, there was like a kind of... Yeah, I don't know if that was a... I don't remember what that was, but yeah, it was some sort of... Maybe they did call it a pocket, or was it a bubble?
I don't know. I know there was some kind of... There were a few different other universe things in Series 6, and I think we had kind of wondered at the time whether that was going to play into the arc, which it did not.
Right.
But maybe it will this time.
Yeah. Maybe that's the 50th. I don't know. I keep just saying random things. Maybe that's the 50th. Because I have nothing better. I guess there was one thing that I wasn't quite clear on, and I don't really care because you could explain it in any number of ways, but I thought it was interesting that the Doctor made a big deal about that Emma and the time traveler were related, and that was why she could sort of call to her. But then once she's out, she's able to call to the Doctor also. So I wonder if I mean, you could explain that, I guess, in any number of ways if you like. For example, I guess maybe she was just kind of trained at that point to be able to get back to that. She was able to call back to that bubble universe, pocket universe.
There's also the fact that the Doctor is another telepath.
True. Yeah, so maybe it's like Bluetooth.
Yeah. They just have to put themselves in discovery mode, and that's really all they have to do.
Yeah, they just pair up. Or maybe Emma and the Doctor are related.
They could be.
Maybe Emma is Jenny.
Maybe. Or maybe the earliest time travelers of the human race go on to become Time Lords.
Ooh, wouldn't that be a little bit of mythos that would upset a lot of people?
It would probably, because it doesn't exactly match up with what has been said before about the origin of the Time Lords, but I mean, you could probably like massage the continuity in such a way that it made sense.
Yeah, sure. I don't know if you'd want to, though.
Not me personally, but I'm sure someone would. Although, you know what? It is also apparently true that the Doctor is half human. So,
oh, there you go.
So
there you go.
He could be related to Emma through his human mother.
There you go. That could be it.
The title of the finale of Series 7.
Oh, right.
Being The Name of the Doctor.
Yes. I find that interesting. I guess in my mind, I didn't think that kind of thing was happening. I'm assuming that the question thingamawhatsit, that's what this is referring to.
I mean, the question, as we've heard it, is Doctor Who, which seems to be an obvious, that means the name of the Doctor.
Right.
I guess I kind of had it in my head when that was sort of brought up at the end of Series 6 that would be the 50th anniversary.
Yeah.
Because it is such a far-reaching question that goes all the way back to the beginning of the series.
Right.
And it's something that has been building specifically with Stephen Moffat for a while, since The Girl in the Fireplace, I would even say.
Yeah, I would as well.
So what this has me wondering is this going to kind of build to a head at the end of this season, or are we going to be left on a cliffhanger leading into the anniversary special, which would be longer than I want to have to wait for a cliffhanger to be resolved?
Yeah, I should think so. Although that wouldn't be too much longer than the mid-season cliffhanger in Series 6. Well, I guess it would be longer.
Yeah, well, it depends what kind of cliffhanger it happened to be. Because, like, the mid-series cliffhanger for Series 6 was very much... It wasn't a cliffhanger where you're like, oh my god, what's going to happen next? It was more of a cliffhanger like, oh my god, we just found something out.
That's true.
So it is definitely... That was definitely a cliffhanger, but it was of a very particular type. So if it was that kind of thing, like, I don't know, we find out the Doctor's name, and then that leads into the anniversary,
right.
And it's George.
and you know, definitely a possibility. Definitely a possibility that it's George, but also definitely a possibility that we could learn it, and then that be the finale.
Right.
That'd be the end of the episode. But the finale is going to have Alex Kingston in it, right?
Right, and I think the previously rumored title, I don't know if you had heard that, but the widely rumored title for the finale up till the point where it was actually released was The Funeral of River Song.
Ah.
I don't know if that was just complete bullshit that someone just made up and posted on the internet somewhere, or if there was ever anything to that. I don't know.
But would someone really do that? Just go on the internet and tell lies?
Probably. I guess.
Right. It's a distinct possibility. Yeah. So I feel like the whole thing about the question would happen with River around. I don't know why I think that, but it feels like it would.
It kind of does, because it feels like the question is a thing that Moffat has seized upon.
Right.
As being, I don't know if I'd necessarily say central to his whole idea of Doctor Who, but it's definitely, he's given more attention to it than probably any previous writer.
Right.
And River, of course, is kind of his character that a lot of the arc so far has revolved around, so...
Right.
So they kind of seem like they might go hand in hand, and obviously there's the whole thing about River knowing the Doctor's name.
Right, that too.
Although it is possible that she already knows it from Let's Kill Hitler, because there's a moment in Let's Kill Hitler where he whispers something in her ear. This is before Melody realizes that she is in fact River Song, and he says, "Tell River Song," and he whispers something in her ear. And then Melody says, "I'm sure she knows already." So that could well have been it. Or maybe it is still to come.
Yes.
Who knows?
Yeah. I mean, if I'm recalling correctly from the library two-parter, the Doctor says that there's only one time he could tell anyone his name.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know what the condition would be such that Let's Kill Hitler satisfies it. Like, right. It has to be Nazi Germany.
It's a very specific condition. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure we'll either find out or it'll just be tossed to the side and we'll never find out. Definitely one of those two.
It could be just, because Moffat has done episodes where the title just hasn't had anything to do with anything. The Bells of St. John. Yeah. I mean, Let's Kill Hitler to an extent. Mm-hmm. It could well be just one of those. Whatever.
Yeah, sure.
I mean... Could be anything.
Yeah, I'm willing to just ride this one out and see what happens.
Well, that's good, because that's kind of what we got to do.
It really is. There's no other option.
Not for us.
No. I mean, I guess theoretically, you could track Stephen Moffat down, even though he's not on Twitter. You have to track him down in the physical world and demand an answer from him. But really, I mean, when you factor in plane rides and all that. Just the amount of effort it would take to track down a human being on planet Earth who doesn't necessarily want to be found. It's probably just better to wait a few weeks.
Wait, are you suggesting that he's on the run and in hiding? I mean, he has a day job. He works. He has an office. I mean, you'd have to get past security in the studio that they now work at. They moved to a different studio from the one they were at before. Maybe that was his.
That's the cover.
Yeah.
There's actually a decoy working at that office. No, I meant it more in the term of I don't think he'd appreciate being more. Not that he doesn't want to be found, more that he wouldn't appreciate being found.
That's probably true.
Certainly not found and then immediately seized upon for answers.
Right.
Answers that, if we were just patient, we could obtain through legal means. Yeah. I'm assuming crimes will be committed at some point.
Oh, because I thought you were assuming that it's illegal to ask him. It's illegal to find him and ask him a question.
No, it might violate some contract. Like he might be under contract to not give in to terrorists.
To not be asked questions.
Question terrorists. Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
No, I don't. Anyway, point is, we just need to wait.
I think we do. I think we have to.
It seemed weird to me that Professor Palmer, I think was his name.
I think so.
I guess this is number-wise, this is possible. He seemed kind of young, and it was, I mean, I guess he wasn't that young, but it was 1974, and he said he'd or been involved in a war, and would that have been World War II? Because I feel like he was...
No, I think it was the Cold War.
Was it? But the Cold War would still be going on at 74, wouldn't it?
Right, I think it was just that he was involved in, like, Cold War espionage stuff, but was no longer.
Okay.
And had sort of retired from it.
Okay. Well, because they mentioned him being like a POW at one point, I think.
So maybe it would have been...
It just confused me because I wasn't sure what they were referring to. Because I mean that would have been some time. And I mean, like, I don't know. He looked too young to have been around that long. But that doesn't necessarily mean anything. I just thought it was a little strange.
Maybe I just kind of got the impression of the Cold War from kind of the way that the Doctor has talked about the stuff that he's done, which sounds a little bit more, espionage-y and...
That's true.
And stuff like that. But I really don't know.
Yeah. Well, and I think what set off a World War II vibe for me was, I think they used the word U-boat at one point, and I guess that doesn't exclusively mean German, but it I would have thought if they had been talking about...
Could have been East German.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I just to me I would have thought they would not have used the term U-boat if it was like Cold War related. But I don't know. I don't know enough about history to know for sure. But it was a thing that just kind of stuck out to me, and I don't have like any theories about how to make sense of it. So,
well, that's probably fine then. I don't know. Yeah, I don't think that would have been. I don't think that would have been World War II. Although it could have been.
Yeah,
it could have been that he. I don't know. Nope. No, I don't know. I think it probably would have to be the Cold War or some other war.
Yeah.
Other than World War II.
Or maybe they were just, I don't know. Maybe this is an amalgam of wars.
A non-specific war. Kind of like how in the Marvel universe, the war in which Tony Stark was captured and imprisoned keeps changing based on whatever war is most recent.
Right. I guess you'd kind of have to do that.
It's actually kind of interesting in the Marvel universe because the Marvel universe has what they call I think they call it a sliding timeline, where the things that happened 6 years ago, like even as years pass in the real world as the comics are being published, things are still considered as having happened 6 years ago.
Huh.
So in the originally the X-Men formed in the 1960s, but now the X-Men formed about 11 years ago, I think.
Huh.
So because time in the comic has gone by at a slower pace than in the world. Huh. So, which kind of changes things because I don't know how much you know about the X-Men, but it's an integral part of Magneto's background that he's a Holocaust survivor.
Oh, I know that. Yes.
So, yeah.
Right.
Things like that get screwed up. So maybe he's a victim of that kind of timeline distortion.
Yeah. That'd do it. That would do it. So there you go. Not as confusing as I thought. It's just a sliding timeline.
Well, maybe it's just incredibly clear, but neither of us picked up on it, and there are people who will listen to this episode and say, these guys are dummies.
Yeah, these guys don't know history. Well, and it could also be, and this occurs to me now, it could also be that I just don't know British history that well, and maybe Great Britain had a bunch of wars, around that time that I'm just not aware of.
In the 70s?
Yeah. Or late 60s, I guess, maybe. I don't know when it would have happened.
I don't know anything.
Yeah, I don't know.
Can we try Googling wars?
I'm sure that'll narrow it down.
List of wars.
And I want to just jump on everything as being somehow, like any little detail is somehow important. And I wonder if the fact that they don't specifically name a war, if that's important, like...
It could well have been the last Great Time War.
Oh, yeah, there you go. Maybe he is... Because he's a professor... Maybe he is. It's like in where we discover the Master is hiding out at the end of
Utopia.
Yeah, Utopia. Yeah, maybe it's like in Utopia where he's actually a Time Lord. He's kind of remembering things, but he attributes them to a war that happened sometime in the past. But he can't really remember what war.
Well, it's kind of funny because in the trailer for Series 7B, there's a shot of this episode from when like the portal is being opened.
Oh yeah.
And you can see like flashing lights, and he's in it, and Emma's in it, and you don't get a very good look at him. But from the very quick look at him that we got for a minute, he looked to me like a much older David Tennant.
Huh.
Just because I guess of the way like the wind was blowing his hair, and the fact that he's got a big coat and was wearing glasses. So I was like, did they cast someone to play an older version of David Tennant? They did not, as it turns out, unless they did.
Yeah, entirely possible. Theories can abound.
Theories can and do abound. Here on the Cloister Room.
Yes, we don't let facts or knowledge get in the way of our theories.
Never.
But yeah, no. I kind of noticed that, I don't know if we've ever heard these bits, but I guess I do have one more thing to say. I liked the soundtrack, and I don't know if it featured new music, but it was music that I don't know if I've heard before.
One thing I noticed about the soundtrack was I think there were some times where I think the music was not used as heavily as it was in some episodes, or at least maybe I just didn't notice it as much as I do in some episodes. But I think there are scenes where the music was. I think in general the music in Doctor Who is like cranked way up and put over everything. Mm-hmm. Whereas sometimes it might be better if you just sort of had silence.
Right.
Or, just dialogue without any musical backing. But so I don't know. I felt like it was, I don't know. I didn't pay that much attention to it. So maybe that it was, brilliant new compositions just faded into the background because they matched what was going on so well.
Yeah. Well, and it was something that I didn't even notice until my second or third watching, because my first watching through, I was just so invested in what was going on. It was just so intense. I really didn't have time to focus on little details. And so yeah. But I don't know. It was just, there were certain points where things sounded very new. And they sounded cool, I guess, is what I came away with it. But I think that is all I have to say.
Okay.